So we have a beautiful Supercharged CR-Z up on the dyno. The last Supercharged CR-Z we had in here, the YouTube video I made, I was not expecting to get that many views and comments and likes and everything on it. So figured I'd make sure I get this one in the video. Of course, as I said, it is beautiful. It is well put together, very clean, nice. And I just don't mean the body's clean. Overall, the setup, I'm liking the setup. Might not be your cup of tea, but definitely liking it. I'm gonna hop on this one. Big concern today is just the heat again. We have, I think it's projected to be a 91-ish, 92-ish day today, if I recall correctly. So seeing how the dyno usually runs about 10 degrees hotter in this area, have to take into consideration that, yes, it could be 95 degrees standing here if there wasn't a car here, but the heat that the engine's gonna be producing, the exhaust and everything else, it's gonna get hot in here quickly. So what I'm gonna do, as I always do, is I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna dial in, he drove it here, so I probably won't have really a shot at cold start. But I'll take a look. I will dial in partial throttle. If I don't have a chance at cold start, since it's already warm, that's what I mean. Ultimately, what I will do is I will gauge where I think it should be at. You know, of course, as I say before with customers, if you get home and it's, you know, let's say in October, you know, right now we're dealing with 91, 92 degree weather. Let's say you get home in November and it's like, you know, 25 degrees out. Cold start might need a little tweaking, and I do that for free. I don't charge customers. I understand that I'm not going to get that many cold shots at a vehicle because you're driving it here. If you don't drive it, well, then of course I'd get a chance at a cold start. But also keeping in mind, how cold is a cold start going to be today when it's 91, 92 degrees out? So I'm going to hop in. Let's see, let's go from there. So right now I'm dialing in partial throttle, making sure that's 100% where I want it. And then I'll slowly start creeping into it, making any changes that need to be made in the program. But to give you an idea right now, so if you can kind of tell, like that is sweat around my eyes. It is right now currently 104 degrees. That's inside where we're at. I'm expecting to see even hotter temperatures today because the temperature outside is gonna climb. With that being said, I'm gonna finish up the partial throttle stuff and see what wants to happen when I do a wide open throttle pull. If I need to stop during the wide open throttle pull, make some more changes, then I'll do so, and then I'll be back. So, quick little update. I am seeing some weird stuff going on with the knock sensor. It is basically just acting like a counter, and it's registering knock when it's not knocking, and it's just going upwards. I mean, not just a couple, we're talking about 500, 700, it will just keep going upwards no matter what. If that was the case, it was actually knocking, well, the engine wouldn't probably be together anymore. So in this case, I have had it happen before with a different chassis, where I had to contact Honda. They said, oh, that sounds weird, send us a data log in the file. I sent it to them. They said that there was an issue in the software. I believe, if I recall, they did a revision, and it was an update that they did. So I'll get that sent over to them. I'll let the customer know too, so he knows what's going on, and we'll go from there. So I jumped inside an air conditioning room to cool down a little bit. Right now, when I did a wide open throttle pull, the car will not build any boost. Not too sure what's going on. Gave some recommendations and some notes on the car to the customer. We can definitely help them diagnose the problem. But right now, too, with how hot it is and the tuning schedule, Can't really spend too much time diagnosing it on the dyno. So overall, everything else went good, and on to the next one. So I'll be back. So here's something else I want to cover too. Since we do still get the, you guys work on Nissans too, or anything else? We work on it all. So we got a Nissan SR20 head back from the machine shop. We're doing basically a freshen up. We have a lot of Nissan OEM parts over here. We have some gaskets over there. And then we have the engine that is going to be getting cleaned that I'll show you guys here shortly. So going through everything right now, cleaning the engine and the head will soon be mated together. And then we'll finish that one up as well. So give me 1 second. So we have the engine over here. It is getting cleaned. It is still actually a little bit wet. You can kind of see some liquid there. What we want to do more so is clean everything off, so when we go put everything back together and when the customer is driving it, you know, down the road, if he develops a leak, it's easier to pinpoint. You know, with a lot of these older motors, when you get oil that is just fully caked on everything, didn't mean to hit that. When you get oil that is caked on everything, becomes more of an issue when you're trying to diagnose a leak or a problem. So since this one is getting a full freshened up, freshener, whatever you want to call it, we decided that, hey, let's clean the block. Let's really get into it. And I don't know if we're going to paint it though. I don't know about that. We'll talk to the customer, see if he wants us to throw some paint on it, and go from there. And here's another project that we are working on. It's an RSX, the engine that we have done a lot of stuff to already, including putting all this purple hardware on. This car, when it originally came in, I was not here on the drop-off, but I was told that it had nothing up front, not even the subframe, not even tires. So I was told when it was getting unloaded off the tow truck, they actually had an engine hoist strapped to the front, holding the front end up, and I'm assuming they were gonna, you know, roll it off the tow truck with the engine hoist, but the engine hoist actually fell off the tow truck and the front end came crashing down. Well, now you can imagine getting it into the shop was pretty fun, with no suspension, no tires, no nothing. And in case anybody is wondering, we have a ratchet strap on here, just for the mere fact of safety concerns. The car is completely gutted, so let me go over here and show you. Before I show you guys the front too, we're also doing a bunch of stuff in the back. Now inside is completely gutted as well. So we have a couple issues now, more so, that I kind of want to share with you guys. So the customer, after he dropped the car off, he came back the next day and he brought us all the parts that he had. It was a bunch of parts. We inventoried them, which takes some time. And then we started working on the car. Now you fast forward, we contacted him and said, hey, you know, we're missing a lot of parts. A lot of parts we don't have, a lot of parts we need. And he basically wanted us to make him a list of the parts he needed, with part numbers and whatnot. And he wanted to buy the parts himself, which you have to take in consideration. We have no problem telling you what parts you need, but if you need part numbers, if you want like a link to where to buy the stuff, even though we sell it all, well, in a business standpoint, time is money, as I said, and I say it over and over. So if we have to spend, let's say, 30 to 45 minutes, and then for you to go order the parts elsewhere, I got to charge something. You know, people can't work for free in a sense, and we do so much here where we don't charge. But, you know, it comes down to it where, you know, I just can't have people making lists of people to buy parts and then going elsewhere to buy them. The other thing too to consider is, you know, we have majority of the parts here in stock, and if we don't, we can get them like, you know, in 1 to 2 days. We don't deal with certain companies though, which like Rock Auto. We're not going to recommend Rock Auto because the parts, yes, are very, very inexpensive, but the quality also is not there. And some parts, you don't want to be going the cheapest route. You know, you're talking about like engine parts, let's say a timing chain. You don't want to find the cheapest stuff that you can find either on Rock Auto or on Amazon and just you're rolling the dice. Here's the other thing though to consider. The parts that we're waiting for were supposed to be here I don't have the time frame in front of me, but I'm going to say at least a few days. I want to say it's been a week. Now that we don't have those parts, we can't move forward with the job. And also, as I said, and I showed you guys that it came in with nothing. What do? We were going to try to put the motor in, the engine in today, but the engine mounts that he supplied are incorrect. So now what do I do from a business standpoint? I can't just roll the car outside because clearly you can see. What would you do? I mean, it's taking up space. It's taking up a spot where a tech needs the lift. We don't want to roll it out in this condition. So, you know, as I say, we have no issue with customers supplying their own parts. But when problems like this happen, and we've been also communicating nonstop with the customer through email and phone. We've told him that his email keeps actually bouncing back our emails and saying his mailbox is full. We asked him if he can clear it out because we have pictures that we want to send him. We're also trying to call him, and at times we can't get a hold of him, so then we try to email him because we're trying to make progress. We're trying to get this done for him, but now our hands are tied. So, you know, it is what it is. It sucks. You know, what would you do? You know, I don't like to charge storage fees, but it comes to a point where, you know, this is, if it's not being worked on now and we're trying to get these parts and they were supposed to be here and it's out of our hands because we didn't order the parts. I mean, it's just literally being stored here now. So hopefully these parts can arrive quickly so we can at least get this thing in a rolling state, which would make it a lot better for us. But that's just the thing in between. You know, I know some shops are very, no, we won't, you can't supply your own parts and, you know, this, and that. I don't have an issue with that. You know, and I'm also not a shop owner that, you know, hey, we can't get a hold of you, your car's being charged storage. I'm not like that. And I've been doing this now for 23 years, and it's never been like that. But it just comes down to a point where we can't work on it. We need the space. We need another car on the lift to use the lift. So, I don't know. The whole situation just kind of, it sucks in that sense where we're waiting on the parts. We get it. We understand it at times, but, you know, also at times you kind of got to just get to a point where it's like, hey man, just order the parts, get this thing done. And you know, that's the other thing too. When we order parts, like if we were to order parts for this, you get the prices beforehand. We let you know, we update you, hey, you know, this and that. And if there's an in-between decision call where, hey, you necessarily don't need this, but it would be nice to do it now because the engine's out, we're gonna let you know. We'll let you know the price. Well, some customers will say, hey, well, if the engine goes back in, what's gonna be the price difference? We'll even let you know that. Frustration, I guess that's what it is. So I did want to correct myself. It did have the subframe attached. Here's a picture of how it was dropped off. So over on the dyno side, we have an 8th gen Craftworks supercharger setup. They're all the way from Indianapolis, and why I am also talking about this car is because originally it started with, he contacted us, said he was getting e-tuned by somebody else, but he was having some issues, and he wanted us to look into it, if we were able to help him. And at that point I said send a data log. Within a matter of seconds I found out what was wrong, or I found a problem that was wrong. I told him, hey, you know, pay for a dyno tune, I'll send you an e-tune, we'll verify this and that. So the whole process, and why I also want to talk about this, not only because I'm talking about e-tuning in this video, is if you drive a good distance, let's say 4, 5, 7, 8 hours, we got a lot of people from the Minnesota area that come down, I can sit there and build you a tune, you can send me logs, so you can drive this thing safely. So you can come down, and you don't have, we get a lot of guys that are worried, but I live so far away. We can help you out. We can get you going. We can get you set up. So I'm gonna hop in this one and get this one going. I absolutely love the license plate. I don't know if I'm gonna be back on this one that much to talk about it, because that's not the feature of the video, but like I said, I figured I'd show you guys what's on the dyno side. So that's going to end this little segment on this vehicle. I wanted to get this car up. The customer was waiting to see it on YouTube. I'm planning something else, and I might use this car even later as an example of what I'm planning on doing a YouTube video on. But I wanted to put it out there. Customer left us an awesome review as well. I'll share that up here after this clip. But I will say I don't know how long it was that we were communicating. I want to say over the weeks, and it actually could have been a month or so. Going back and forth, making sure his car was 100% before it got here. When he picked it up, talking to him in person. And then after he left here too, he had some questions, and then just going back and forth and just talking. The biggest thing, as I said it before too, once you leave here or even before you come here, the relationship that we try to build with customers. We try to treat everybody like family. We truly do. We get close to our customers, and customers will, hey, you guys went above and beyond. You didn't have to do this, this, and that. I mean, yeah, sure. We didn't have to do this, this, and that, but we're all good people here. We all try to go one step above. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I remember when I was getting into this industry. I remember when I was trying to get help. And I had a 1990 CR-Z, and just getting looked down on, just going to shops, and yes, it's not the best thing out there or whatever, but it was just getting turned away, and just not even turned away in a sense, but just getting the door closed on you. Like, I understand that my question might be asked a million times, and let me say this too though, back in the day, we're talking about 23 plus years ago, there was a lot less that was out on the internet that there was nowadays. But we still answer questions here. We still treat everybody like how we would want to be treated. And that same goes for their car as well. Doesn't matter the car. Doesn't matter if the car has dents, dings, rust, whatever. We treat everything, including people, like we would want to be treated. So, JT, appreciate you, man. Hopefully you're watching this. I'm going to send you an email too, though, to give you a heads up to let you know that your car is on this video. Thank you. I'm going to add too really quickly. I did email the customer, and I gave him a heads up to keep an eye on our channel because his car is going to be in there on one of our videos. But I will say this: he responded back, and asked him how he was and whatnot. And not only is everything good, he actually just bought a new truck. Which might sound weird to you, but that makes me super happy, man. It's super happy when I can see people, get something, be excited. From the email, it seems like he's really excited he got a new truck. There's so much negativity in this world. There really is. Not just in this industry, but this industry is really, really big on, people being fueled by their ego, and, other shops wanting to badmouth other shops. There's so much work to go around. It really stinks if you have to go out and badmouth a shop just to try to get business. It really does. So I'm super happy. I'm excited. I wanted to come back and just, kind of mention that, so as he should be watching that video. You're going to watch this video after I send you that email already, but I'm happy for you, man. good job. Send me a picture of that truck, which I'm also going to send an email to send me a picture. So hopefully you enjoy this little segment, JT. So I want to try this out here. It's a little bit of a question and answer type deal. Emails that we get shine a little light on some stuff. I'm hoping more so, though, some of these questions, that people ask me might help you guys out too. Watching it, now or years down the road. So I'll try to keep doing it. Give me feedback, though, how you guys like it. So first question is from Logan. He had a couple different questions in his email, but more so pertaining to his setup. He has a 2013 Civic Si. His one question is, what single disc clutch would you recommend that would be capable of holding 600 wheel horsepower? I'd prefer to steer away from the twin disc, if at all possible, but I don't know if a single disc will hold that power. Well, he already kind of knows the answer, it sounds like, but there's no single disc clutch that is going to hold that power that will last for more than 5 pulls or a week. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. But what I did follow up with in an email, or I explained to him, because a lot of people are under this assumption, I asked him, I said, well, what do you got against a twin disc? Is it because you think it's going to be harsh on the street? So the highest clutch we ever recommend on the street is, and it varies per company, but it's going to be a stage 4. Usually a stage 4 is a 6-puck sprung clutch. Sprung is that main word there. A lot of people will go with a stage 5, which is a 6-puck unsprung. Or they'll start working up to the stage 4 and going unsprung. Unsprung on the street, not only is it going to be a pain to drive, it is going to be incredibly harsh on the whole system. And when I say system, I mean drivetrain, your axles, your transmission. A lot of people hear twin disc and they're fearful that it's going to be a nightmare to drive it on the street. But in reality, it's not that bad. Yes, it's not an OEM clutch, and yes, it will take a little getting used to, but a twin disc compared to anything that is unsprung, so a stage 5-ish around that, or if you start going even higher, a twin disc is actually going to be more drivable. You're going to be able to drive it easier. And not a lot of people realize that. The other thing, too, to take in consideration is a twin disc can be rebuilt. So, yes, if you wanted to go with a stage 5 unsprung and, hey, my buddy got, let's say 5 months. My buddy got 5 months out of it pushing whatever horsepower. It's good and dandy and all, but a twin disc will not only hold the power longer, depending on how you drive, but you can also rebuild them. So in this case, my rule of thumb is when you start pushing anything over 500 horsepower, go with a twin disc. The next question I have, he really doesn't have a name. It just says, it's me. I'll read the whole question off. He said, how's it going? He said, I'm looking for a rough estimate on a swap. Currently have a 1992 Honda Accord wagon with an H23 in it. He's looking for the ultimate sleeper. So he went online. He said he bought a wrecked 2017 ATS-V. He said he's currently thinking about putting that engine and drivetrain into a Honda, or gutting the crap out of both and putting the Honda on the ATS-V. So he's asking for advice on the route, true sleeper. I have no advice. It's simply, if you're looking to do a swap like this, as I told him, any swap, and we can go with a popular swap nowadays, an LS, a V8 engine. The LS is popular if you wanted to put that in a Honda. Anything that's not common, that you can't just call up and say, hey, I need these mounts for this car, or hey, I need these axles for this setup. Anything that's going to require that amount of fabrication to get everything working, and it's not just one thing or the other. There's a lot of stuff. You're going to be a good amount of money into something like that. And then that's where you ultimately, and this is where I tell people on projects like that, sit down and figure out your budget that you want to put into it. Figure out at the end of the day, and also add a little bit on top of that. If you think, hey, it's going to cost me $10,000, add another $5,000. That is going to be anything that you didn't think of. So on top of that, you're always going to have other little stuff that's going to be hanging you up. And then you also have to consider, depending what you're putting it in and depending if you're going to be trying to drive this thing daily, what happens if there's any type of maintenance that needs to be done. You know, on some swaps, everything is so tight, so close, that if you want to do a water pump, you have to pull the whole engine out. So you have to take that in consideration too. So anything kind of custom in that sense where you can't just call up a vendor, a shop, a manufacturer and say, hey, I want this part, and that part. You're going to have a good amount of money into it. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it.